Good morning. Good morning from Melbourne, Australia. Good evening to friends in North America, and hello to everyone watching on replay. My name is Nancy Hetker. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Melbourne, Australia. And today I'm going to bring you a couple of projects where I do some heat embossing on designer series paper. So when you join me, please do say hello so I know that you're here. I love seeing and interacting with people watching me. If I don't know you already, it's fun to get to know you this way. And if I do know you, I like to get caught up. Hello, Gladys. Thanks for tuning in today. As I said, I'm going to be doing some heat embossing on designer series paper, and I think I showed this to you guys, but it might have been a couple of years now, so I thought I'd go back to it. Good morning, Paula, or good evening to you. Thanks for joining me. So this is a piece of the In Good Taste designer series paper. It did carry over from last year. Every once in a while, Stampin' Up! Does that. And I am just looking for my, there we go. I have a lot of things piled on my desk at the moment. This is my piercing mat that I cover with a bit of grid paper to protect it. And I'm going to be using that today, not because I'm piercing anything, but as a cushion, because the first stamp I'm going to be using is this Delicate Dahlias stamp set. It is a celebration set. You have, about 24 to 36 hours or so, one more day, or 2 days, I guess, to purchase, to make a qualifying purchase and get this free through Celebration. It runs through the end of September. And I am going to be stamping this onto this designer series paper. I'm taking my embossing buddy. Stampin' Up! No longer carries these. I'm very bummed about that. They're just a little sack that has powder, kind of like baby powder in it, or cornstarch, and it, like if I've been touching it while I've been cutting it and I've gotten oils from my hands on it, or there's static on there, it just reduces all of that and makes it so that when I go to put my embossing powder on, the embossing powder won't stick to where maybe my fingerprints are or where it's staticky. I have a few of these in my stash that I sell at cost because I think it's a really useful tool. And so if you're in Australia and you would like one of those, get in touch with me, Nancy at nancysniftynotes.com, and I'd be happy to hook you up with one of those. So this is Versamark ink. It's a clear ink. It's sticky, and it stays sticky for a little while so that the embossing powder can stick to it. Our Craft Whisper White is another one that works quite well for that. So I'm going to stamp this kind of all over, and the thing that's difficult is you can't see where you've stamped. So I want it to be pretty much all over, but I don't really want them overlapping. So this is going to be my challenge. Sometimes when I've got a big block, I'd rather bring the stamp pad to the stamp. Yeah, I really can't see on there. And while this stays sticky for a while, especially if you're in a dry climate, you don't really want it to dry out. So we're going to try get a couple corners here. I'm just trying to remember where I stamped. Okay, let's see what we got. So I stamped in the clear Versamark. I'm going to move this out of the way. Bring in my, this is what I have found works really well to keep my embossing powder. It's very, very fine, and it tends to like to fly a lot of places. So I had found just cutting off the flaps of one of my Stampin' Up! Boxes seems to let me minimize the mess from the embossing powder. And I like to put my embossing powder into a plastic container, and we did pretty well there, I think. And spoon it on and dump it back in. Some people put it onto, dump it from the little pot that it comes in onto a piece of paper, and then pour it back into the little pot. I just find this faster and easier. I'm going to be pleased with how much I didn't overlap. And this embossing powder is copper. And right now, Stampin' Up! Sells the embossing powders in 2 different packs of 3 colors. And one is metallics. So that has copper and silver and gold. And then another 3-pack that is, they call it basics. And that is white and clear and black. And see, I got a fair amount of embossing powder on there, but I'm not going to worry about that today. Now this is my heat tool. It's kind of like the tool that you would use to strip wallpaper, kind of like a hairdryer. The fan isn't as strong as a hairdryer, and the heat is quite high. Oh, well, you can't see that when I'm putting my hand right in front there, can you? Let's see if we can get this so you can actually see it change. It's so cool. It goes from being a dull powder to very, very shiny. And glossy. And this copper has kind of it picks up the pink and brown tones that are in the paper. Which is pretty cool. So it comes out kind of almost like a rose gold on here. I think I'm going to be pretty darn pleased with this. Okay, I think I've got it all. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside again. And let's see if you can see. It's so pretty. There we go. And I thought maybe on there for background. This is mint macaron. Trying to decide if I want it just like that or if I want another layer underneath. Bring in a little bit of ribbon. to make my other element here, which is my sentiment. And I think what I decided I wanted to do is use this one. This is also from Celebration set. What did I do with the whole thing? It's called In Your Words, and it is a host set. So if you place an order or a set of orders equaling in Australia, it's $500. You get this stamp set for free, and I will find it here. Here we go. It's called In Your Words, and this is what am I trying to say here? This stamp set is full of sentiments that were recommended by demonstrators all around the world. That's what I'm trying to say. And that has some very fun ones, because we're a fun bunch, right? I wanted to see if, I don't think this will fit on there. Let's see what we can come up with here. Let's try it in copper as well. This may not. Sometimes when we've got very fine, very small lettering, the embossing isn't defined enough for it. So we'll just experiment with this here, and if this doesn't work, we'll pull in a different ink. Go. Love it. I think that's going to work fine. Okay, but not that punch. So hang on just a moment. You can gaze upon that for a moment. I am going to go see about cutting this out with a die. See how that looks. There we go. Yeah, one thing about designer series paper, it's thinner, and so it does curl up a bit more than cardstock would. One of the things, I just keep having all these thoughts. This may wind up ruining it. It's a little slit punch there. See if I can get it pretty close on this side. There we go. Just for something a little different. And I am going to change that up just slightly. Hang with me. Okay, bring my paper trimmer in. Trim it down just slightly. Same colors I had for the card base I had originally, but I think what I want to do actually is I'm gonna trim this a little bit more. Hello, Renata. How are you today? We are on day 11 million of lockdown here. Yeah, we are actually, I think, about to set the world record for lockdown during COVID. Number of cumulative days, or number of total days since March 2020. Not fun. But is what it is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now and glue this onto the mint macaron layer. If I wasn't doing this live and on camera, I'd probably take a really big block and stick it under there for a few minutes or a few hours. And then figure out just where I want this. And there we go. I am going to stick a few glue dots under there. It's a little bit, it kind of wiggles around a bit, and I want to get it fixed a little bit more. So I'm going to stick a couple glue dots under there. Glue dots are wonderful things. There's one. Just hold it in place a little bit. Yep. And I am actually going to cut a different card base. I like mine to open as tents, not, I could do it like that, but I don't want to. And that's, I'll be honest with you, it's because it's much easier to get good photographs when they stand up as tents. And since it doesn't really matter to the recipient, I will go ahead and do that. There we go. Have a good crease. Go. And I am thinking about some embellishments for that. Yeah, it is quiet. Any Noah updates? No, sorry, I got nothing. I expect it'll be a couple weeks before I hear anything, because they're doing assessments on all the pups they brought in this week. And figuring out what's what. So these are the brushed metallic adhesive back dots. I'm just trying to figure out what I might do. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not sure if that's what I want to do. go with that. It is quiet. It's also, well, it's quiet for a couple reasons. First of all, Glenn is off his Zoom for the first time in 2 hours. That was loud. But we're also, because we've been enjoying last week and this week, no construction across the street from us. They got shut down because over 50% of the construction sites in the state were not being compliant with COVID safe procedures. So they got shut down to have a reset. Okay, I'm gonna put that one aside, and we've really been happy not to have construction noise 5.5 days a week. So, okay, so this is a piece of the Nature's Harvest Meadow Designer Series paper. And I am going to use a stamp out of the Nature's Harvest stamp set. Bring in my embossing buddy again. Make sure I don't have fingerprints. And you can see when I switch to doing this, I'm just touching it like with the tips of my nails at this point. And bring in the Versamark again. Here we go. Get that well inked. And I can tell I've got some ink on the edges of my stamp, so I want to make sure I get a good impression, but I don't rock it. So straight down, press and hold are not rocking it. And now I will lift up and we will bring in, this time I'm going to use white embossing powder. Especially when you can't see the Versamark, it is so cool to have the powder stick to it. You don't need to coat it that many times, but I'm just making really sure that we've got it well covered. And I just like to use something to hold it so it doesn't blow away from me, but I don't get my fingers burnt off either. There, can you see it starting to turn? Where can I put it that you guys can see it the best? Yes, I have a little bit of that gold leafing in here and it's blowing around. Okay, I think that's it. Let's see. Looks all melted. Right there in the middle, 1 second. All melted and shiny. Here we go. So for this one, I have my layers ready to go this time. This is another piece of the Harvest Meadow Designer Series paper. While I'm thinking about what else to do, we'll just flatten that for a minute. This one I had not picked out any embellishments or ribbon or anything like that yet. So I'm just doing some thinking here. Different white ribbons. That one might be fun. Thinking. I feel like I've, Winnie the Pooh. Think. Let's see here. I also need to think about what I want to say on there, if I want to say something. Sorry, making you sit and suffer with me. This one says, sending this card for no particular reason. I'm going to try. To do some heat embossing on here too. Let's see how this works with this itty bitty sentiment. Yeah, that looks like it stamped well. Let's See if it embosses well. Ooh, now I can see it. You may not be able to see it, but I can see that it I must have moved it here because I've got a double image and I pushed harder here. It's squished out, blort. So we're going to try that again. Hopefully that's better. I know I've said this before, but I am always grateful that we're just working with paper and ink and it's all relatively cheap. So if it doesn't come out the way you want it the first time, you can try again. Oh yes, that's much better. At minimal cost. Unlike when I was quilting, and if you messed up your fabric, that could be quite pricey. Okay. So I am going to let this cool for a moment and go cut it out. I used this long die that is flagged. Let's bring this back in. Can't get my fingers to make the layers. Come on. I'm liking that. You guys still with me? Some of you? I am going to, this is a non-Stampin' Up! Brand of essentially tear and tape, but it's half the width of our tear and tape, and I like it for some things. Such as adding on the ribbon. So now the question is, wrap it or trim it? I think we will wrap it. Again, I'm going to do a glue dot. And one reason I did the thinner tear and tape is that I don't have sticky sticking out behind that label, which means I could figure out how I wanted to place it without worrying about it getting stuck down. And just one glue dot there just holds it, so I don't have to worry about it wriggling about. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this down. And I'm going to try to get that on straight with dimensionals. Grab a new sheet. There we go. Yep, I like that popped up. And once again, I am thinking about embellishments. Pull out a couple different possibilities here. Chime in anytime you see something you particularly like or don't like. Okay, so those are Calypso Coral sequins. You can see how rarely I use pearls. I still have the greenback ones. I even have some of the ones even older that have them all connected there. I guess pearls have gone out of favor recently. I was thinking maybe because they're white, it could be a good thing. I have these iridescent. Still thinking. You like the pearls? I like the pearls too. And I even think I like those 3 white ones too, but not for this, I think. I think yeah, so one of the things I was sorry about when they got rid of these that have these strips was they had loose ones and these ones that are even smaller than this. And I think that's what I'm going to go with. And the strips, I've cut them apart. Let's see what we got here. You can see I've colored them at various times too. But yeah, I think we need to tell them we need to go back to having really, really small ones. We do in silver and gold, but we don't in the plain white, and I think that's what's missing. There we go. Yeah, see, we've got the little ones. Yeah, 3 millimeters. Yeah, they say these are 3 millimeters too, but I don't know. They look bigger than these. Anyhow, there we go. Just a little sprinkling of brightness there. So there's one. It's cleaned up a little bit. There's the second one. Actually, that's the first one and the second one. I hope you liked seeing some embossing on designer series paper. It's kind of interesting. This one made more of a background and this one made more of a focal image. At least that was my goal. Yeah, so thanks for joining me. Like I said, if you are interested in getting this In Your Words or Delicate Dahlias, they are celebration only sets, and that means they're available through the end of September, which is only like another 2 days. So get your orders in. If you are in Australia, I would love to be your demonstrator. I'm at nancysniftynotes.com, and from there you can link to my online store for Stampin' Up. I have free tutorials if you look in my shop. I have all kinds of stuff available, and of course blog posts, and these cards will be on my very next blog post. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you again next week. Which reminds me, I wanted to let you know our clocks here in Australia are changing for daylight savings time on Sunday, which means next week's Facebook Live could be a different time for you depending on where you're watching from. So I will have a link in my Facebook page to show you, so you can check and see what time it's going to be where you are. If you go to the events in my Facebook page, Facebook Nancy's Nifty Notes, and sign up as going to my event, it will show you what time it is where you are. We've got about a month here between Australia and North America changing clocks. So in another month, when at least the US changes clocks, we'll go through this whole thing again. So I will see you next week. Hopefully you find me at the right time and right place. Thanks for joining me today. Bye-bye.